Great.
Okay, hey, thanks. I wanted to first just commend you for coming out in the public forum. I know a lot of representatives have not been doing that. I think it's really important for us to be engaged in this debate. You know, it affects all of our lives. One thing I wanted to mention, and I know there's a lot of disinformation out there. You know, it's said that free markets got us into this situation. But I think, you know, the HMO Act of 1973 did a lot to start the ball rolling, which, you know, the government illogically connected being employed and being insured with that. So a lot of the unemployed people who don't have insurance is connected to government intervention. 2/3 of all spending in healthcare right now is through Medicare and Medicaid. So the government's spending a lot of money. And the question, I think, and what a novel idea is, and I think I embody the thoughts of a lot of Americans, is maybe the solution isn't more government. And I have two questions just regarding economics, specific questions. Okay, the first one is that, you know, Medicare is being touted as this great success, but it's currently got at least, if not more than $37 trillion in unfunded liabilities. It's insolvent. The post office is insolvent. Amtrak's insolvent. All of the government businesses, the government, state and federal level, is insolvent. And so here we are in a situation where we're looking at national health care, and I think the idea that some Americans don't trust government has to do with the track record of our federal government not being... So the two questions that I really have are, number one, why should the American people believe and trust the federal government who has a historical track record? This is not just anecdotal evidence, a historical track record of running business poorly and running deficits that further create a tax burden on the American people. Why should we trust this to that same government? The second thing is the Congressional Budget Office confirms that new taxes on small businesses will result in job losses. And there are provisions in this bill which indicates that certain businesses will have to pay penalties if they don't conform to the different types of regulations or don't opt in. Again, I got 2 copies of both the Senate and House bill. I'm not done reading them, they're long. But I'm asking from an Ohioan's perspective, is this really the right thing in this economic environment to possibly cause more job losses and to possibly cause more budget deficits in this economy? And I just want to leave with one last statement. The founders reminded us that a government that's big enough to give you everything you want is large enough to take everything away.
When you start, you kind of lost when you started. Medicare has $37 trillion in liability. What's that? The cost of Medicare for the next 100 years? Is that what that means?
Medicare cannot
currently $37 trillion in liabilities for how many? What's that? Medicare will owe for 100 years?
Well, it's not the next calendar year, sir.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what I will be happy.
Between 1 and 100.
Wait, hold on. I will be happy to provide the additional data on that and email it to your office.
Sure, you're right.
My name is Jason Rank. I'd love for you to reply or somebody in your office. I will provide the data.
Okay. I hear this. I hear people say Medicare and Social Security have liabilities of X trillion dollars. So does the Department of Defense. So does everything else. But we fund them every year because we believe they serve a public purpose. We spend, hundreds of millions of dollars. They're having a long-term, multi-trillion dollar.
I'll do it all across the board.
Okay, well, fine, all right, but just let's say second thing, I look at the way the insurance industry runs their operations and the way Medicare runs their operations. Medicare 2-3% administrative costs. Insurance companies 10, 15, 20, up to 30% if you got a single plan like maybe you do. I don't know what percent they're maybe 30 or 40%. Well, yes, we'll do another meeting on that. The point is, these are public purposes. if you don't agree with me, I know many in this room, in this country, don't agree with me that the government runs Medicare pretty well. I think it could be better. I think the way that the president did the prescription drug benefit 5 years ago was clearly written by the drug industry and the insurance industry. That's why we got a substandard bill, Medicare bill, that will send deficits as far as the eye can see, maybe even adding up to $37 trillion in millennium. I don't know. But my point is that we make public choices, and economists are on all sides of this. There always are. From left to right, perhaps. We make public choices about spending tax dollars. I think it's a legitimate public expense to spend on defense, to spend on the environment, to spend on medical care for all citizens, particularly those citizens that can't afford it, all older citizens, all children. Those are public purposes that make our country better. You may know some of you.
States should take care of it.